Know what time it is. Yes! Yes! Get into it! Get into it! Yes! We're back! Hi, lovelies. We're back with another installment of Storytime with Chris.
As I always say, you do not have to watch these videos when they go live. Relax and chillax in time in between time, mean time, scheme time, strength. You want to hear a highly animated voice bring you wonderful stories of magic and adventure and many, many more in between. And you know where to come, babe. You know where it is.
Now, this particular chapter that we're about to read is a bit short, so I'm going to read this tonight, but I know I owe you all a chapter, so Wednesday, because tomorrow I'm working a double, and I will have to more than likely catch up on A Series of Unfortunate Events, Chapter 5 of the End, on Thursday. So we'll have 2 chapters on Thursday, and then 2 chapters on Wednesday. So, I hope everybody's having a great day. I hope everybody's feeling good and doing what they got to do to take care of themselves. Hi, lovelies. It's me. And I hope everybody had a great Mother's Day yesterday. I hope everybody was able to celebrate and be kind to one another and be patient with staff if you went out to eat. And I'll just say this. When I was growing up, and I was just talking about Bob about this yesterday, we just didn't go to a restaurant for Mother's Day. Like, is it nice to go to a fine dining buffet and, you know, it's under a package deal, so your drinks and food are covered and you just come dressed and you eat and you go? That is cool. But there is something so much more enriching about hanging out with, because usually we would cook for Mother's Day. Like, either the kids would cook or like some of the aunties would come over and we do a cookout or something, or we just invite all the mothers in the immediate family and just hang out at the house and just eat food, cook, play games, taboo, spades sometimes. I'm trying to think. Taboo is a great family game on both the Family Davis and the Family Sains. Taboo is a great game. I know we did charades and like, I don't know. We just have fun. Like, it's just us hanging out as a family. Now, for those who choose to go out to restaurants, all I ask is that you take the time to be patient with people and realize that that was one of the busiest days in the year for restaurants and hotels. Mother's Day is one of the biggest traveling days. As somebody that's worked at a restaurant within a hotel for 8 years, yeah, it's truly a thing. So all I ask is that on busy holidays like this, take the time to be patient and considerate of the staff's energy and time, and try to be cognizant of the fact that more than likely these individuals will not be able to get to sit down at any point of their job because they're busy running around catering to you and your needs. So all I ask is for your patience. Kindness is free. Love is free. It does not cost you anything to be nice. And of course, tip your waiter or waitress properly. Now we're back because the last time we were here, Barney, Rufus, and Simon went to go find this mysterious artist, this painter of the dark, but he doesn't seem to be working with the central group of the dark that we've seen from previous books, like the Rider, the Walker, who has since passed on, and Mr. Hastings and his whole crew. He's not a part of that. This is a very mysterious character. He is half Romani, which is an indigenous sect of traveling nomadic people of Europe. He has asked Barney, because he's stolen the Grail, he asked Barney to put water in it and to stare into it. And unfortunately, Barnabas is now under the spell of the dark, and we got to figure out what's going to happen next. How are we going to figure this out? How are we going to save Barney? But let's switch our perspective a little bit and go to another character who is just as important in this particular book as she really gets to shine. And it's Jane. Chapter 6. Jane was almost in tears. But they couldn't just disappear. Something awful must have happened. Nonsense, Merriman said. They'll be rushing in any moment now, demanding their breakfast. But breakfast was more than an hour ago. Jane stared distractedly out over the harbor, busy and bustling in the sunshine. They stood on the little paved path outside the cottages, above the winding web of stairs and alleys that led down to the harbor side. Will said, "I'm sure they're all right, Jane. They must have woken up early and wandered out for a walk and gone farther than they intended. Don't worry." "I suppose you're right. I'm sure you are. It's just that I keep having this awful picture in my mind of them going out to Kamar Head the way we used to last year, and one of them getting stuck on the cliff or something. Oh dear, I know I'm being stupid. I'm sorry, Gummery." Jane shook back her long hair impatiently. "It all comes of seeing the Greenwitch falling, I suppose. I'll shut up." "I'll tell you what," said Will. "Why don't we go out to Kamar Head just to check? You'd feel a lot happier." Brightening, she gazed from one to the other of them. "Could we really?"
Of course we could, Merriman said. Mrs. Penhallow will give the Truitts their breakfast if they arrive. In the meantime, you two start off. I'll have a word with her and catch you up.
Jane beamed. "Oh, that's much better. Waiting's awful. Thank you, Will." "Don't mention it," said Will cheerfully. "Lovely morning for a walk." Into Merriman's mind, he said unhappily, "The dark has them. I think. You feel it?"
But without harm, came the answer, cool into his thoughts. And perhaps to our gain.
Barney stood at the door of the caravan, blinking in the sunlight. "Well," he said, "aren't we going to get them?" "What?" Simon said. "The drinks, of course." "What drinks?" "What's the matter with you? The drinks he just offered us. He said there are cans in the little cupboard. You can help yourselves. And something about a cardboard box." Turning to go, and he glanced at his brother in amusement. He stopped abruptly. "Simon, what is the matter?" Simon's face was white and strained, the lines of it drawn downwards in a strange adult expression of concern and distress. He stared at Barney for a moment, and then he seemed to make a great effort and wrench himself on the same level of conversation. "You get them," he said. "The drinks. You get them. Bring them out here. It's nice in the sunshine." There was a sound behind them inside the caravan, and Barney saw Simon jump as if he had been stabbed. Then again he saw the same straining for control. Simon leaned back against the wall of the caravan, his face up to the sun. "Go on," he said. Puzzled, Barney went into the caravan, its interior bright with the sunshine streaming in through the windows. The dark painter was sipping a cup of coffee, leaning on the table. "This one?" Barney waved a foot at the little cupboard under the sink.
"That's right,"
the man said. Down on his knees, Barney took out 2 cans of orange soda, then peered around the dark little cupboard. "You said a cardboard box, but I can't see one."
"Not important,"
said the painter. "There's something, though." Barney reached in and took out a piece of paper. After one glance, he sat back on his heels and looked up at the man without expression. "It's my drawing that you took."
"Well," said the man, "that's what you came here for, isn't it?"
His dark eyes glinting coldly at Barney beneath his scowling brows. "Take it, and drink your drink, and go." Barney said, "I'd like to know why you ran off with it." "You irritated me," the man said shortly. He put down his coffee cup and motioned Barney towards the door. "No brat criticizes my work. Don't start again." His voice rose ominously as Barney opened his mouth.
"Just go now,"
Simon said from the doorway. "What's the matter?" "Nothing," said Barney, rolling up the drawer. He picked up the 2 cans and went to the door. "I'm not really thirsty," Simon said. "Well, I am." Barney drank deep. The painters stood watching them, scowling, barring their way back into the caravan. Outside in the sunshine, his big horse moved one placid step forward and rhythmically ripping at the grass. Simon said, "May we go now?" The man's eyes narrowed. He said swiftly, "I have no hold over you. Why ask me?" Simon shrugged. "Just now Barney said let's go home, and you said not yet. That's all." A kind of relief seemed to flicker over the other's dark face. "Your brother has his precious drawing, so go! Up to the left of the farm." He waved at the grassy lane disappearing around the corner. "You'll find a shortcut back to the village. The path's a little overgrown, but it'll take you to Kamar Head." "Thank you," Simon said. "Goodbye," said Barney. They went on across the field without looking back. It was like coming out of a dark mist. "Did you think it's a trap?" Barney whispered. "Someone might be lying in wait for us at the farm."
too complicated, Simon said. He doesn't need traps. All right.
Trotting alongside, Barney peered at him curiously. Simon, you really do look awful. Are you sure you're all right?
Do shut up about it, Simon said fiercely low. I'm fine. Just get a move on.
Look, said Barney in a moment as they rounded the corner.
It's empty.
A low gray stone farmhouse faced them, obviously deserted. Nothing moved anywhere. Old pieces of machinery lay rusting in the yard, and several windows gaped black and jagged edge. The thatched roof of an outhouse was sagging ominously. Brambles waved wild green arms where the woods were stealing in towards the house. Do you wonder no wonder he's living in a caravan. Do you really think he's half gypsy?
I doubt it, Simon said. Just a handy explanation for looking different. And for the caravan, I don't know why, but Gummery will. There's the path.
He headed for a break in the tangled growth near the old house, and they pushed their way along a narrow, brambled cross track. I'm ravenous, Barney said. Hope Mrs. Penhallow's got eggs and bacon. Simon glanced around, his face still drawn.
I've got to talk to Gummery. We both have. I can't explain it, but it's terribly urgent.
Barney stared. Well, won't he be at home?
Might be, but they'll have had breakfast ages ago. They'll be out looking for us.
Where?
I don't know. We could try the Grey House to begin with.
Okay, Barney said cheerfully. This path must come out pretty near there, and we could... He stopped dead, staring at Simon. Rufus! We didn't bring him back! Simon, how awful! I clean forgot about him! Where did he go?
He ran away. It's one of the things I have to explain about.
Wearily, Simon went on to the path.
It's all part of the same thing, and we just got to find Great Uncle Mary as soon as we possibly can, or something's going to go horribly wrong.
There's no sign of them up here. Will came clambering back across the rocks at the tip of Kimbar Head.
No, Merriman said. He stood still, the sea wind blowing his white hair back like a flag.
They might have climbed down into the next bay to the rocks at the bottom, Jane said. Let's go and see. All right.
Wait,
Merriman said as they turned in surprise. He raised an arm and pointed inland. Back along the headland towards the silent gray group of standing stones that overlooked Thruisic Bay. For a moment, Jane noticed nothing. Then she saw a patch of brownish red moving towards them from very fast, a patch that resolved itself in a few moments into the form of a desperately running dog. Rufus? The red setter skidded to a halt in front of them, panting, trying to bark, and odd little gas coughing sounds. He's always rushing up from nowhere, trying to tell people things, said Jane helplessly, crouching to rub his head. If only he could talk. Want to come along with us, Rufus? Want to come and help me find Barney and Simon? But it was very soon clear that Rufus wanted nothing but to persuade them to go back along the headland the way they had come. He jumped and whined and barked, and so they followed him. And as they came close to the standing stones, the great gray monoliths of granite and their lonely group up on the windy grass, they saw coming towards them from the village Simon, Barney, and Captain Tom's. They were moving slowly, the old man still hobbling with a stick. Jane could sense the suppressed impatience in the boy's deliberate pace. Merriman stood beside the standing stones as they came up to him. He looked only at Simon and he said,
Well?
So he poured a little drop of some sort of oil into the grail, Simon said, and so that it floated on top of the water, and Barney had to sit down and stare at it. Sit down? Barney said. Where? At the table, in the caravan. It was all dark, except for this funny kind of green light coming from the ceiling. I don't remember any green light. And for goodness sake, Simon, I don't remember if I've seen the grail for even a second. And I know I didn't. Barney, Simon said. His voice shook with strain, and he leaned against the nearest standing stone. Will you shut up? You were in a spell of some sort, and you don't remember anything. Yes, I do. I remember everything we did there, but there was hardly anything. I mean, we were only there a minute or two for me to get my drawing, and I never sat down inside.
Barnabas?
Merriman said. The voice was very soft, but there was a cold fierceness in it that made Barney sit still as a stone. He said in a whisper, I'm sorry. Simon was paying him no attention. His eyes were glazed, inturned, as if he were seeing something that was not there. Barney looked into the grail for a while, and then the van seemed to go very cold, and it was horrible all of a sudden. He started to talk, but
He swallowed. It wasn't his voice that came out. It was different. And the way he talked was different, too. The kind of words. He said a lot of things I didn't understand about someone called Anubis and making ready for the great gods. Then he said, "They are here," though he didn't say who he meant, and the painter, the man from the dark, he began asking questions and Barney would answer them, but in this funny, deep voice that just wasn't like his, but like someone else. Simon shifted restlessly. They all sat around among the great stones, listening, intent, silent. The wind sang softly in the grass, and round the towering columns. He said, "Who has it?" And Barney said, "The Greenwitch has it." He said, "Where?" And Barney said, "In the green depths of the realm of Tethys, out of reach." The painter said, "Not out of my reach." Barney didn't say anything for a bit, and then he went into his own voice. He could tell he was describing something he could see. He sounded very excited, and he said, "There's this weird great creature, all green and darkness all around it, except in one place where there's a terribly bright light, too bright to look at it. And it doesn't like you or me or anybody, or won't anyone come near." The painter was all wound up, so twitchy he could hardly sit still, and he said, "What spell will command it?" And all of a sudden it wasn't Barney anymore. His face went empty again, and that other horrible deep voice came out, and it said, "The spell of mana and the spell of wreck and the spell of leer, and yet none of these, if Tethys has a mind against you. For the Greenwitch will be the creature of Tethys very soon now, with all the force of all life that came out of the sea." "Ah," Captain Tom said. Will said sharply, "The spell of mana and the spell of wreck and the spell of leer. Are you sure that's what he said?" Weary and resentful, Simon raised his head and looked at it with dislike. "Of course I'm sure. If you heard a voice like that coming out of your brother's mouth, you'd remember every word he said for the rest of your life." Will nodded gently, his round face expressionless, and Merriman said impatiently, "Get on, get on." The painter came very close to Barney then, whispering. Simon said, "I could scarcely hear him." He said, "Tell me if I am observed." I thought Barney was going to pass out. He stared into the grail and his face got twisted and he could see the whites of his eyes, and then he was right again, and the voice out of him said, "You are safe if you keep from using the cold spells." And the man nodded his head and made a kind of hissing noise and looked very pleased. He leaned back in his chair, and I think he asked all he wanted to, and he was going to stop, but all of a sudden Barney sat up very straight, and that horrible voice said, very loudly, like shouting, "Unless you find the secret of the thing of power in this high part of spring, the grail must go back to the light. You must make haste before the Greenwitch departs to the great deeps. You must make haste." And it stopped, and Barney sort of slumped down in his chair, and Simon's voice wavered. And he sniffed hard, fiercely raising his head. And I grabbed him to make sure he was all right, and the painter was furious and yelled at me. I suppose he thought I had broken the spell or whatever, so I got cross too and yelled back that he wouldn't get very far when we told you all about this. And he just sat back then with a nasty sort of smile and said that only he had to snap his fingers and we would forget everything that had happened for as far back as he chose.
"And Barney did," Jane said shakily. "But you didn't."
Simon said, "We heard Rufus barking outside the door then, so Barney and I moved to get him, and the dark man jumped up and snapped his fingers once, click, right by our faces. I saw Barney's eyes go sort of vague, and he moved forwards very slowly and opened the door as if we were sleepwalking. So I copied whatever he did, because obviously I had to take terrific care the painter didn't suspect I could remember what had happened." Rufus had gone, run away. Barney blinked a bit and shook his head, and almost at once he was talking as if he had just got there a moment or two before, like going back in time. So I tried to do the same. "You didn't do too well," Barney said. "You looked awful. I thought you were going to be sick." "What happened to the grail?" Jane said. "I suppose he's still got it." "I wouldn't know," said Barney. "I don't remember seeing it. I do remember him giving me back my drawing, though. Look." He waved at Merriman, who took it and twirled it absently in his fingers as he watched Simon. "Simon," Jane said, "why did the forgetting work on Barney and not on you?" "It was the drinks," Simon said. "This really sounds stupid, but it must have been. We drank some orange soda, and there must have been a kind of potion in it." "Clumsy," Merriman said. "Old-fashioned. Interesting." He looked at Will, and Will looked at him, and their eyes became opaque. "But the orange was sealed in cans," Barney said incredulously. "That's the only reason we drank it, because he couldn't have put anything in it. And anyway, you didn't even open yours." "The spell of mana," Will said very low to Merriman. and the spell of Wreck, and the spell of Lear.
No, Barney, Simon said. You actually went and got those drinks twice. Only the first time was one of the things you've forgotten. And though I didn't have any the second time, I didn't pretend to drink some the first time. So he thought it worked on both of us. Will said to Merriman, "There's no time. We must go now at once." Simon, Jane, and Barney stared at him. There was a crisp, unboyish decision in his voice. Merriman nodded, his hawk's face grim and taut. He said unfathomably to Captain Tom's,
"Take care of them."
Then he turned his cold face grim to Simon and said,
"You are sure that at the last," the voice that came from Barney said, "before the Greenwitch departs to the great deeps?"
"Yes," said Simon nervously. "Then it is still here," Will said. And to the children's bewilderment, he and Merriman turned and ran towards the end of the headland and the sea beyond. With swift ease of animals they ran, the long, lean man and the sturdy boy in urgent, loping running that took away their age and all sense of familiarity in their appearance. Faster, 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 and at the rock's end, the headland, they did not pause, but went on. Will leapt up light-footed to the crest of Kimar Head and cast himself outwards into the air, into empty sky, arms spread wide, lying on the wind like a bird, and after him went Merriman, his white hair flying like a heron's crest. For an instant, the two dark-spread eagle figures seemed to hang in the sky, and then with a slowness, as if time held its breath, they curved downwards and were gone. Jane screamed. Simon said, choking with horror, "They'll be killed! They'll be killed!" Captain Tom's turned to them, his rosy face stern. He did not lean on his stick. He seemed taller than before. He pointed one arm straight at them with the 5 fingers spread wide.
"Forget,"
he said.
"Forget."
They stood poised for a moment, caught out of awareness, and compassionately he watched the terror drain out of their faces to leave them empty, expressionless. He said gently,
"The mission for all of us is to keep the name of the man of the dark from the Greenwitch. Will and your great-uncle have gone among the fishermen one way. We 4 have another way to watch, from your cottage and the Grey House. Know this now. Have no fear."
Slowly he lowered his arm, and like puppets the children came back to life. "We better get going then," Simon said. "Come on, Jane." "I go with you, Captain, right?" "I go with you, Captain, right?" Barney said.
"I'll give you some breakfast,"
Captain Tom said, twinkling at him, leaning on his cane.
"It's past time."
So okay, that is the end of our reading tonight. Now, what I personally feel like happened in my mind is that they jumped off the cliff and started flying. Like, they literally started to fly. Because one of the spells in the Book of Gramarye is the ability to have the sight and the speed and wings of the great eagles, and to be able to soar and be high among the clouds out into space and be in and out of time. So that's what I imagine happened, and the shock of that definitely scared Jane, Simon, and Barney, because they don't know that Will is an old one, and they don't know Will's connection to Merriman. And so now the plot thickens. We're about to get 2 different points of the story to be split off for a momentary pause. But as always, I love you all very, very much, and I will see you next time, lovelies. Bye-bye now.